Hey, what's up, everybody? This is a little different, and it's only because honestly, last night I couldn't sleep. But so because I couldn't sleep, I ended up watching The Matrix Resurrection. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Kind of like everybody, pretty much everybody's probably going to say the similar thing, where the first one was an amazing movie, where it was something brand new. You didn't know what the hell was going on. The trailers and all the marketing was really good on what is the Matrix, and it really got you into it. And when you saw it, even while you were watching, you're like, what the hell is going on? And it brought all these like great philosophical ideas, as well as kind of like where are we going with technology in our lives. And a lot of those things kind of like were really like I remember a friend of mine taking a philosophy of the Matrix class, where they dissected the storyline, the whole Neo is Jesus type thing, blah 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 blah. So it was a huge thing. And then when they announced that they're doing sequels and they're basically being filmed back to back, everybody was really excited. I was one of those people. I really loved the first one. I'm so excited that we're getting two more, because the first one was left open-ended. That would give you a sequel, but it could be left at the point that if it wasn't super popular, it might not have, got a sequel, and you'd be okay with it. It'd still be a complete movie. But pretty sure that they knew that that was going to be just a home run, and it was going to be one of those movies where you wanted to see more movies. Unfortunately, the second and the third ones, to me, are okay. They're not the best movies in the world. The second one has some moments that I really enjoy. The scene where they're going in the Alameda tunnels is awesome. It's also awesome that it's filmed around here, right? And with this fourth one being filmed in San Francisco is pretty cool. A lot more things are being filmed over here, and this one, the world doesn't necessarily have to end. But the third one let me down a lot. And I mean a lot, where it finished the story, yeah, and I wish it would focus more on the whole Smith Neo thing, but it was too bloated. It felt like all it was the fight scene in the real world. It just missed the mark. Like, if they took some parts of the third one and really just kind of melded it into the good parts of the second one, I think you'd have a really good movie, and you didn't need three. And I think that was the biggest problem with that movie, is that you didn't need to have two movies. I think you could have had one, and you could have finished the story, and everything would have been cool. And now we have the fourth. So I feel like I can't talk about this movie without saying spoilers. They're going to be spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, I almost would ask that and you're interested in seeing it, go watch it and then come back here and watch the rest of this, because I have to talk a lot, and a lot of it has to do with the story and kind of some of the bullshit things that go on in this movie. Now, is it all bad? No, there are some good parts in it. I like some of the action set pieces are pretty good. I think that the idea in the story, why they're bringing them back, is pretty good. The main villain, there's technically two. So what is the basic story of the Matrix I can't even fucking say it right. The Matrix Resurrections. Well, the basic story of the movie is that, are we still in the Matrix? Literally, like, the basic thing, right? Where we're introduced to new characters, most of them that you can't really care about, maybe except for Bugs. And then there's a bunch of other side characters that, for some reason, Shepard sticks in my head, and I think there's a guy named Zen. But it's kind of like what has happened, not 20 years after, even though it's 20 years since the original movie, but what's happened 60 years since Neo has been resurrected. And it's like you go through a lot of the same beats of the original movies. And one of the things, I swear to God, I hated in this was they kept flashing back to the first movie. And I'm not talking about just like, remember House of the Dead? You remember that movie? You remember how you loved watching it, and you're in these action scenes, then all of a sudden, middle of nowhere, there were screenshots from the game, little videos of the game popping up all the time? That's fucking Matrix Resurrection. I keep wanting to say Revolutions for some reason. But that's literally it. They would talk about something. Hey, guys, remember that time? Oh, remember that time you met Morpheus? remember that time you met this person? Remember that time you met that person? And then they would show the scene. And it's like, why can't we have like some of these actors? Why can't they reprise the roles? If we got Keanu Reeves doing it, why can't Lawrence Fishburne be Morpheus once again? Or the guy morph into Lawrence Fishburne? They give a good reason at least for that. I don't know if the reason for Agent Smith is really good, because it could be done, but I understand at the same time, like, they give reasons of why these actors are changed, right? And the dumbest thing, I'm gonna have to repeat myself multiple times here, is that, oh God. They mentioned WB in this movie. Okay, so Neo is now Thomas Anderson, right? Tom, for short. I can call him Tom, right? Thomas Anderson, Neo, is in another Matrix. That's a big spoiler. But it takes you 30 minutes for him to figure it out, which fucking ridiculous. But he's making a video game. He's made video games based on the Matrix. That's kind of like the premise, right? As an audience, we know that there's still a Matrix, right? We know it from right away, because Bugs, who is our secondary main character of this movie, she's breaking in and watching the events of the first one, but it's not Trinity that is Trinity in this. It's not Carrie-Anne Moss, it's somebody else. And they're like, oh, I've seen this and they've done this, but it's actually like a simulation within the simulation, right? It's a matrix within the matrix, what they call a module. Or modal. I'm sorry, not a module. It's not like it's a D&D campaign that we've got going out there. And so that's how we get a new Morpheus, right? Because he's written as code to be like an agent as well as Morpheus himself. And it's not the real Morpheus, it's a computer Morpheus. That's why he looks different than everything else. And that's why we have a different Trinity in that scene as well. Even though Trinity, she does come back later on in the movie. And so you have them, right? And he's a video game programmer, and they're sitting down, and he's sitting down with their version of Agent Smith, okay? Because he's been written into the code, and he has a leash tied down to him, so he's always got to be tied to Neo, and that's how he's able to do whatever he's going to do, and how he stays so close to him, and how he is basically trapped in that world. And so they're best friends. They built the Matrix together. Neo coded everything and made this great selling video game. And WB's like, you know what? We're going to make a sequel to your trilogy. We're going to make a new trilogy. And we're going to do it with or without you. Which I'm pretty sure happened in the fucking boardroom for this meeting. They were like, look, the Matrix is too big of a property to let go. And you're going to have to either be on board and make another one, or we're just going to make another one without you. And, one of the Wachowski sisters went, okay, I'll do it. I don't want you to sully the name of my franchise, and I really haven't made a great movie in quite some time. So here, I'll make a new Matrix movie for you. Just like Neo's like, fine, we're going to make a new Matrix game. It literally says it. They say it in lines of dialogue in the goddamn movie. And that drove me fucking crazy. Okay? Then it's just, it's too bloated. It's too big on itself. Because they even do it like during this whole time, they're doing all these things about how great the Matrix was. And how, they go through each, program developer. This is why the Matrix was great. Because of the action. Because of bullet time. Bullet time. Like, they say things like 5 times in a fucking row. And it's just so goddamn annoying. Like, why? Why would you do this? I understand that you're going to do it once, but it's like they're all repeating themselves over and over to like fucking just pound it into your fucking brain on how good the original Matrix movies were. And I could not get into it like that. But once we got away from that bullshit, then everything kind of went better. Keanu Reeves, still fine. I think that his best role has been Neo, because Neo was clueless, and sometimes Keanu acts like he's clueless. Besides John Wick, I think John Wick is also his coup de grace of roles, but he doesn't do a whole lot. Like, he doesn't say a whole lot, but the tactical training and all the cool action set pieces that are done in those movies, and, how well he is with everything. He spends so much time training on that shit, that in this movie, it's literally like him doing this the entire time, just holding those arms up and deflecting bullets. Like, he doesn't even get a gun for the whole movie. Like, I'm not saying that you have to have your action hero with a gun, but how about you give him a weapon? How about you have him fight in these fights that are not silly? And like the one with him and the new Agent Smith, I thought was actually pretty cool. But it's nostalgia because it's mirroring fights that he's had with Agent Smith before. Like, instead of it being in, some random room where they're punching walls, oh no, they're in this abandoned building where there's shit downstairs and he's punching walls. And Neo is getting his ass kicked to a point. And they keep flashing back to their fight in the last movie in Revelations, and it's like, why? Why do we need to do this? Why do we need to keep just focus on what you're doing here? Like, I think that's my biggest problem with this movie, is that it spends so much time focusing on the past and saying, hey, remember that? And then it doesn't do a whole lot new. I mean, it's basically a retread of the first movie with it being different at the end, right? And instead of it being, Neo getting killed and then all of a sudden he comes back because he's Jesus, it has a different ending that I'm not going to really spoil here, but you don't spend enough time with Trinity. And that's really, and the thing is that she's trapped in there too, and there's a whole convoluted story of how this new Matrix works, and how it was built differently, and how it feeds more off of human emotion and feeling, whereas before it's just like everybody just goes to go be out on their daily lives and whatever, where they have feeling and fucking emotion in the whole thing. There's love, there's death, there's breakups, everything is in there. So it's not different, other than here it's because the main reason why it's different is because it's powered by Neo and Trinity. Like, that's the main difference, is that they figured out that the two of them together are stronger than anything. When they're apart, they don't work. But there's something about when they resurrect them, and I guess they've done this multiple times, and that's why it's been 60 years, probably because they die, because they've gotten older, and then they resurrect them at some point where they're old, and then they continue on, and they do something to fuck up the Matrix, so they have to kill them, so then they bring them back. Like, I don't really know, and honestly, I don't fucking care, and that's my other big gripe, is I don't fucking care about any of the other characters. I don't care about Bugs. You can make me care about her as much as you want, but there's no redeeming quality to having the character in the movie. Oh, you're gonna have Nairobi show back up in this movie? That was a cool little thing. Like, oh, hey, look, it's Jada Pinkett Smith and really awful old person makeup. Like, that's what you're going to do? You don't even tell me what fucking happens to Morpheus, right? I had to go and read about it somewhere with, like, I guess that maybe it's offhanded and I wasn't paying as much attention, but he became the leader of this society and then died of old age. That's it. No ceremonious anything else. He just died of old age. Fuck you. I hate you. It's just that. So again, it's just so many missteps in this movie. Like I said, maybe I'm just bitching a little bit too much, because there were moments. Some of the humor I really enjoyed. I enjoyed some of the things, like when Neo tries to fly and they're like, "Can you still fly?" And then he does the thing where he lifts off, and he lifts off for just a second. That goes, "Nope." Like, that was really funny. And your main antagonist is the analyst, played by Neil Patrick Harris, right? And it was fine going to the big reveal. And once it hit the big reveal that here's your main bad guy and the whole thing, like, he was playing his character from Starship Troopers. And it doesn't fit here. It really doesn't work that much. Like, when he's just the therapist and he's just talking to Neo and he's just kind of going through everything, and you can tell that there's manipulation going on, but Neo can't tell that there's manipulation going on, but something isn't right. And then when he finally reveals himself, it's like, ha, I'm the big bad guy. Ha, ha, ha. Ooh, I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Ooh, I'm smarter than you, Neo. I'm so smarter than you. It's great, isn't it? I'm smarter. Ooh, I've learned how to use your bullet time. Yeah. Like, he doesn't really get into the German accent shit, but it's still that annoyingness of what the character ends up being, right? And it seems like it's played for laughs, but I'm not sure if it's meant to be played for laughs. Like they're doing it straight, like they're really trying to be like he's trying to be the machine that thinks he's smarter than everybody, but it ends up being more comedic than it ends up being serious, right? And I really thought that it was going to be Agent Smith, and it's not Agent Smith. He is not your main villain of this movie. He just shows up, does a fight, and then shows up at the end, and that's really it. So and I like I said, the things that like they did with manipulating Trinity, I thought were pretty good. You know, they give her a family and a husband and all this stuff, and that's how they keep them in. The whole thing with the blue red pill, you know, everything's back, and they're giving all the signs when Neo's getting his medicine again, and it's all just these blue pills. You know, and he just constantly takes them so that he's complacent within this world because he's been, you know, basically told that everything is, you know, this is reality, and he's, you know, whatever he's doing is not amounting to anything. And he's got the annoying friend in the beginning of the movie, which is weird because I get it. They say something about that they want to keep Neo close to Trinity, but they don't want them to truly like interact on a like relationship level, right? Because that'll fuck things up. And so she is constantly going to the same cafe that he goes to, so he sees her every day. And in the beginning of the movie, you know, he goes and his friend tries to like introduce them, and then the part to back them off is that, oh, she's married and those are her kids there. It's kind of funny. One of the kids is like, "You gonna try to bone my mom?" Like, it's kind of funny, but it's not completely funny. Yeah, I just there's so many more things. The fight choreography is either it's a fucking black and white thing. It's either, hey, this is good and kind of fun, or it's really terrible. There is this big giant fight that happens when they get back. They take Neo back to the Matrix to try to talk to Trinity for the first time, and you get the guys that were the club owner from the second and third one, the one AI there. He's randomly there. He's all disheveled, but he looks like the fucking like troll from underneath the bridge in fucking Monty Python's The Holy Grail, over there about to ask the 3 questions, you know, to make sure that he can cross the fucking bridge. What is your favorite color? What is the sum of 2 + 2 + 97? You know, like those types of things are going on. Like it's so overacted, like ridiculously overacted. And then at the end of it, when everything's done, he's like, I have to go talk to him. But it's not going to talk to the guy. It ends up going to talk to Trinity. At least that's the way it made me feel. I'm like, okay, like they're, oh, you can't go fight that guy because imagine these exiles were that strong. He's got to be much stronger. And he's like, no, but I got to go. And it's like, wait, or there must be other ones out there like them, I think is what we're trying to get at. But it felt like he was going to go after that guy, but instead he goes and talks to Trinity. And I'm just like, that's a weird jump cut in between the two. Like there should have been more that was going on there, but didn't necessarily happen. So I don't know. Like I really wanted to be something better than it was. Seeing the trailers, I'm like, it's got me interested enough to watch it. Now I didn't go see it in a theater. I went and I watched it on HBO Max because I wasn't sure if I wanted to spend my money on this. Like, if I'm going to spend my money on anything, I'm going to spend my money on Nightmare Alley. I still need to go see that movie, and hopefully I'll be seeing it sometime this weekend, and we'll get a review up for Nightmare Alley. But this was just literally, like, I was unsure. I was just going to wait some time, maybe go see it, you know, not necessarily in the theater, but maybe, hey, say, let's have Pat come over. I'll go over to Pat's and watch the movie over there. Like, I wasn't going to spend my time in a theater because I really don't know. Again, it's weird that we're resurrecting these 20-year-old, and I know there's a lot of meta commentary on the whole thing of rebooting this franchise and redoing this again. Now, should they continue it? I don't know. I feel like it's going to make a lot of money over the weekend. And if it does make a lot of money, it's going to have so many views on HBO Max that they're going to be like, we're going to greenlight Matrix 5. Like, we're making a new trilogy. And even the fact that they blatantly say it in the movie, again, dumb shit, it's so ridiculous to me, like, that they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't try to make one more, right? At least one more. But if they're really going to make a trilogy, and the ending itself, is either open-ended or it's completely closed, right? And which is fine. I totally get it. But it also kind of, it really shits on the original so much with that ending that I'm just kind of like, And it's not to say that I don't agree with what's going on it, but there's an idea behind the one. And that now there is no the one anymore, right? That's all I can really say, I think, without giving too much away. And I wish that, they had done, like, the whole plan to get her out is interesting. I like that, like, the ideas are there. I like that when we go back to the real world, that there are big ripple effects that were done by Neo, and you get to see them and how they work. That there's a sect of machines that realize what they were doing were wrong and now are working with the humans that exist. That they've been able to break into the computer's world, into this new matrix, and be able to synthesize out plants, vegetables, fruits, all this stuff that they don't have in their world, all because they're working with other, machines that are out there that are helping them do this and helping the humans survive and be more than what they were in the previous movies. I like all of that stuff. The costumes are great. I love all the costumes in this movie. Some of the effects are really good. I did not like the robot effects. Felt out of place. Like they were trying to do something where maybe there's something practical and it just doesn't look quite practical. And other times, like, and I'm not talking about like the big scene robots that are out there, little squid guys and all those things. Those things are fine, but part of me thinks that they're reused assets. But the stuff that's new, it just doesn't seem to fit in the sequence in the screen. It's just, it looks cheesy and fake. Like this was made back in, the late 2000s rather than being made now. And this big budget of a movie. And this could also be just a symptom of the pandemic again. We may be getting these films that should be these, CGI cinematic masterpieces or have these great set pieces, and they turn out to not be that great because the time and effort, like, to still meet a schedule is just not of it. Like, if this maybe had cooked in its little canister for maybe another 7 months, just so they could flesh stuff out. I'm not saying the editing, because the editing is okay, but just with the CGI, just so that they could make it work a little better. I just don't know. Like, there's a couple of times it looks really good, and there's a couple of times it just looks really bad. Some of the stuff right at the end of the movie with the analyst, what happens to him, looks really good, and I was very surprised with it. But then there's the giant attacking scene where everybody in the Matrix is trying the swarm mechanic that they've now added to this. It just, that action set piece isn't very good. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Neo is literally just a shield. That is all he's doing. Like, he just decided to take up the Paladin class, but forgot the fucking hammer at home. And all he knows how to do is block. He's just going to be up there. I'm going to tank this shit, and that's all we're going to do, and everybody else is going to attack. I'm not going to have any type of attack. Like, there's a little bit of them doing their martial arts, and again, when he attacks somebody for the first time, I still know Kung Fu. Like, that stuff's funny, but again, it's just, the term gets put around a lot and from a lot of different people, but it truly is, like, South Park really hit it out of the park when they did the whole member berry thing, because that's all this is. This is member berries. Like, it is, hey, remember this time when they did this? Here's a new version of it. Hey, remember this time when they did this? Here's a new version of it. Hey, remember when they did this? Here's another version of it. It's resetting to do more, but honestly, without a major death in this movie, and that is a major spoiler on it, there is no tension, and there are no stakes to what they're doing other than the Matrix is going to continue. That's literally it. So it's, and it's really a story about Neo trying to find Trinity and save Trinity. That's ultimately what it is. But you need higher stakes. You need characters to die. You need, even if they're side characters, even if it's a major character that we remember from the first movie, even if it's just a fucking, like, there's a scene where one of the big, like, robots comes back. One of the people inside the Matrix comes back, and it's I think that's probably the best scene in the movie when you have that revelation, right? But it's marred by the fact that everything around it is just terrible. It's, you know, if I have to, rank this one, just based on my basics, it gets a 2 out of 5, neck plugs. It has the chance to be better. It really did. It had a big chance to be better, but it just couldn't pull it off. And it basically was falling down on its own weight and what it thought it was before. And I feel like, they mention it as a joke in the beginning of it with the whole WB thing, but I really feel that they wrote, like, the way that Wachowski, I forgot which, I think it's Lana that did this one, the way that she did this and the reasons why, if she wrote it this way, because there's the pressure on them, that it slipped through WB and the other producers. They're like, haha, that's a good joke. But I really feel like they forced them to make this movie, and so she just made this movie however. And everybody's got to say, man, if you see these people out there saying how good of a movie this is, that they're doing this because they have to do it. That's the way I just kind of feel with it. So it's, it's just one of those things. If you like it, great, you like it. And like I said, there were a lot of scenes that I was smiling at and that I was having a good time with, but I'm just, after like spending the night thinking about it and the morning thinking about it, it's not where I wanted it to be. And maybe that's unfair putting my wants for it, but my want was for it to be a better movie than it was, right? I didn't have super high expectations going into this movie. I don't really have any higher expectations or lower ones. Like, I'm right where I was. Yeah, I felt like it was going to be a mix between the second and the third, and I'm right. I feel like it's a mix between those. It's almost like it's the second, where it's got some good scenes that I don't mind watching again, and it starts off pretty good, but it gets, again, it's really ridiculous once the little action set pieces go. Like, I heard somebody before I started watching the movie, and it's what got me to actually start watching the movie, that said, if you are an amateur fight choreographer and you think that you can make it, you can never make it into Hollywood. You can watch this movie and you can realize I can make it in Hollywood, because the cool things, like, and that's what drives me crazy too, because there's so much cool action sequence. Even if you don't like the other shit that's going on, and it gets too convoluted and they get too much up their own ass, the action sequences in all three movies are great. And here, there's just some that are just a big letdown. And honestly, one of the first ones is right away. Right away, it's a letdown. And I'm just kind of like, okay. And if this is the pace that you're going to set, like even the fight between Neo and Morpheus, where Morpheus is trying to get him to remember himself, and he doesn't, because he doesn't want to fight, like, they could have written that in so much better, rather than, no, you've got to fight me to live and remember yourself. And it would have been like, well, maybe be like, I'm just a different person than I used to be. I don't think violence is the answer, and I think there's a better way to do this. Like, that would have been more interesting than this really just cheesy fight sequence with, you definitely know that it is stunt doubles. And if it wasn't, that's terrible. But I feel like both of them were just stunt doubles. And the reason that we gave Keanu the hair that he has, other than it looks very striking on him, is that we could put an action stunt double in there, because we can get the hair down over the face. Because every time he's fighting somebody, his hair is all over the fucking face, so that you can't see who it is. So it also takes me out of the movie too. I got to stop before I just keep just railing on this fucking movie. So thank you guys very much for watching. As you see, I wasn't a big fan of this one. And don't forget that there are a bunch of podcasts available. We've got 2 Christmas ones. The Cadaver Christmas is out. The Scary Little Christmas, the Monster Scary Little Christmas with Dave. And the previous one was Patrick from Merry People Watch Movies here. Dave is on that one. And then releasing on Christmas Day, there is the Nightmare Before Christmas podcast with Patrick, which was a lot of fun to record as well. So we've got another Patrick on that. It's Paranormal Pat, which you've seen on these videos before. So make sure you go out there and you check them out. Other than that, I wish you guys all a very happy holiday. And if you saw it, let me know what your thoughts were on the Matrix Revolutions or Resurrection in the comments below. In fact, just let me know what your thoughts on all the Matrix movies are in the comments below. And I thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Make sure to take care of yourselves and each other.